Our panel of speakers and contributors are now going to take questions, so if anybody has one, you can just raise your hands, you can come up here, it's all up to you.
Can we have Mike take the podium here? Just want to ask Mike a few questions about what Nathan is what are your thoughts about his proposals today for the governments to partake in some of these, for instance, the curriculum aspect of
I'm not a school teacher, nor have I ever been, so I don't really know what that looks like in a classroom setting, but when I was in elementary school, I was about 5'8" and 95 pounds and got picked on and bullied quite a lot. So I really do understand it. I think it's necessary to have programs in place to stop that kind of thing.
But specifically about homophobia, not just bullying.
First of all, homophobia would fall under bullying, and second of all, yeah, I think you need to stop that. I think we need to stop violence and verbal intimidation. You can have a good conversation about differences of opinion without resorting to physical violence or verbal intimidation. So I think that if there is, and I think Nathan has documented that there is a problem with violence against gay people and the entire LGBTI community, I think that something needs to be done about that, because if we can't have a safe dialogue, how can we ever understand each other? A dialogue that doesn't occur in a safe environment is no dialogue at all.
What are your thoughts about the appetite for Mr. Wall and the other people who asked him to do, for instance, the curriculum aspect and the requests you make? What do you think the appetite for the people in power to sort of make that happen?
I'm sorry, the appetite? You mean, do I think they will be willing?
Yes.
Well, I don't think that I can speak on their behalf, obviously, but certainly we are doing our best to be as reasonable as possible, and we're not even discussing some of the divisive issues around marriage or definition of the family or anything like that. What we're asking for is safe schools and a respectful healthcare system, and I think that any government is beholden to that. I mean, I can see no justifiable reason why the governments of Saskatchewan and Canada wouldn't be willing to work with us to develop a better awareness of our needs. I would like to think that we can take their apologies at face value, and they will show that they're serious and committed to improving conditions for us, and that these homophobic jokes are a thing of the past. But the reality is that right now we hear those things every day. We at GBLUR routinely hear people say things like, you know, they have the right to find us disgusting because of the way some of us have sex. As far as I'm concerned, it is the obligation of government to do something about that. So I hope that they see it the same way.
And Nathan, how have you conveyed that to governments, what you're asking for here?
Well, we're hoping to be a first step in a new process of dialogue. In the past, a lot of the discussion has revolved around a lot of, spear rattling and hurt feelings that, as we've said, have led to all kinds of problems. And what we're hoping for is that the current fire around Mr. Lukiwski's remarks will inspire Canadians to realize that it's time for us to work together. And so this is our opportunity to extend our hand out to the governments and say we're willing to work with you in a respectful manner if you're willing to work with us in a respectful manner.
So are you waiting for governments to come to you, or are you going to have meetings with Provincial Minister of Health?
We intend to make some phone calls and send some letters, but we haven't had time to begin that process yet. We're badly underfunded and understaffed, and we're predominantly student volunteers who are right in the middle of finals right now, and so to try and do all this work just as ourselves is exhausting, and we're racing the clock as it is. So we're hoping that some representatives of government will come to us.
What are your thoughts about Mr. Lukiwski still having his
As far as I'm concerned, and I think that I speak on behalf of GBLUR on this, the issue of Mr. Lukiwski's resignation is a red herring. It's whether he resigns or not, in the long run, will have no impact at all on the issues that we're actually facing. Mr. Lukiwski is being punished because he used language that was vulgar and offensive. That has very little to do with the attitudes that underlie those jokes. And these attitudes were prevalent in the early 90s, they're prevalent now in Saskatchewan. And he has apologized very graciously and said that he will spend the rest of his life working to correct the mistakes that he made when he made those so-called shameless comments. I would understand that to mean that he's prepared to actually work with our community and help the healing work happen. So as far as I'm concerned, he's apologized, we've accepted the apology. If he cannot demonstrate, and if his party cannot demonstrate that they are prepared to take our concerns seriously, then it may be time to call for resignations. But for the time being, I'd like to extend an olive branch and offer him the opportunity to come to us and work with us.
Here, here.
Well, I mean, certainly this is going to take time to sort out, but I would think that it is not unreasonable to expect a response from him within 2 months. As far as implementing programs, that's going to take longer, and we can't give you a timeline until we have the opportunity to speak to the government's representatives and discuss a way that we can sort this out. But I would certainly like to see some response taken within 6 months.